Why am I doing this to myself? I don't know. Give me a second. I literally just finished washing up after I ate. I set the. Alright. There we go. Just picking the stream up on my phone so I can see everything. But yes. Oh, I regret ever mentioning this at all. I mean, it's obviously my fault. I'm the one who gave myself this sort of like stupid fucking thing to do. But it's just a reminder of literally every single book. Yeah, some of these have dozens of pages. I am, some of them are covered in blood. Ah. Oh, this is gonna be living hell. Alright, let's start. An accepted crow. Oh, this is a cookbook. Compote with flaky sleet and water. 1 serving of concentrated sleet beard gland paste. 1 serving of pickles. Can use ice beard, level 10. If you already have ice beard, it's enhanced by 10 levels. Thirst at half the rate. Moist fermented brined compote. 1 serving of vine wafer. I think I said wine fafer. God damn it. Wine wafer. Vine wafer sheaf. 1 dram of cider. 1 serving of pickles. You thirsted half the weight. Plus 4 to 5 cookings. Shredded spice, and mild flour. 1 dram of cider. 1 serving of dried Vantabud. 4 to 5 quickness. 4 dodge value. Oh, there was one more. There was one more page. Oh, whoops. Bread on top of water. I'm just imagining you just like pour water on a plate and then put bread on top of it, like dried stale bread. And you're just like, yeah, this is Gordon Ramsay level. He throws at half the rate. Fucking pickles. All right, bread on top of water, of course. Crunchy red celery-like is the title of the book. Sometimes in the night sky, in fear and fatigue, I heard the word of Shekinah. You know why men follow Urudad? Moon King fever. Looking at something can tell you a great magma crab. Anyway, Ural stocks a plethora of pockets. Hasty's altar viewing plane. No wonder. Then, that scientific men did not quit until long after sunset when the different phenomenon. And so they grew to love me, and I have compiled from the sun was not a very much destroyed by the earthy gunk. Above the clutches of shale hint at the labyrinths beneath them. There are statues erected in honor of the furnished comb caves. Along the missile's trajectory, several free espers left the freehold, the free seer who resides in the flaking shells of dead king crabs. It is blackened from the sun shear by a strap of intestine. Glass is too hot. We are the benefits of cybernetics. What are the great salt desert and to the ability of gold working? And during the course of his point of observation, I write by a strand of kelp from a thin woven fabric. Angular King died in 40 pp, and left no humanoid fit for inhabitants by mortal folk. Old Yuri squinted, and then you hit. Fend Gridgate and speak with Ortho. I will. Ravage your nubile heart. Krah! There's no score associated with it. Sorry. My throat's already starting to get sore. No honor is higher than 1,000 trees. Must you disturb me? Or the domesticated desert ship of the Windweirds chose to depict the ape gods sitting cross-legged with each of which I have a numpad next to the north. Here are the risks of cybernetics. What are cybernetic implants? What are cybernetic? I fucking hate it. Every time cybernetic implants gets mentioned in one of these books, it gets mentioned in the same sentence twice more. Like, actually, it's ridiculous. I was like, oh, there's mention of cybernetics somewhere else in this book. Oh, there. Yeah. What are the? We are the benefits of cybernetics, and then it's just like recursion. It just loves saying cybernetics for something. Yes. You know the rest of cybernetics? What are cybernetic implants? Excuse me. What are cybernetic implants? What are the more skill points which you may with us partake? But take heed, for ours are idle lives, and you may assess your new active ability from the coast of Humangatsi. On the square inch in one hand, a knife and glowing cat at his feet, I knew it was likely exported by the free seers. Gaze was acknowledgement enough, with the stature and girth of a salt topper. In its humanoid subjects, we suppose it found a kind and affable ruler who unified farmsteads and mining settlements that had been for some addition information about the signal onto the disk. Sorry. Dare I say, is the name Citrus. Or not Citrus. Circus. Underscore circus underscore, I should say. Oath breached the catacombs, sapped defenses, sacked the freehold, and was known in the midst of the eaters. The reason why the Achilles about 15 miles distant, the Achilles became visible as the free seer. I knew it was said the gods had taught him to fight with such ferocity. Well done, Prestus. Press Alt for some poor fool to help with his fellow knight's conical, and on whose arm Subsurveillant is told to have grown from atop this ageless leather helm. What? Oh, please tell me the stream's actually working. Yeah, it is. Okay. Real old. Way older than every idea. I must first draw a distinction between natural mimicry, where certain humanoids have developed animal and plant likenesses on a side with a decorative slip. Enter and speak with Elder Uridad. We will discern my presence before I could strike. And the difference between the two feelers of this pig slowly roasts itself. Nonetheless, Bato's consent is testament to the desert men. Okrayi. Oh, how the Dromads know. How did I survive the Plant King's fickle expulsions of lethal gas? Sorry. Something about that made me laugh. They found themselves subject to learn the various improvements each implant offers over its fetid domain of the neighboring freeholds. When fully developed, this rainbow was the Lawn of Cud, and even the space folder Bateau agreed to abandon research and blacklist anyone who studied the habits of animals and moods of nature, and they did not bother to reckon that distinction. It was the Lawn of Cud, the Brutus Templar clacks. Children, let's rejoice in the freehold's oldest families vying for the former. It appears to our fathers The sun's heat on the paper jackets of the Ibul Iceet. Onyx are chemical concoctions that enhance your mental mutations, are modified by your mental mutations, are modified by 5% for each point of the conversation. To my bewilderment, the stiffening had come already. Interact with most objects by pressing space. This subject did not quit until long after sunset when the air very clear. Whereas winds from the weapon. You are skilled at first to the torso. The Butterments have programmed several wage droids guard it with a banana sheep. Sorry. I'm gonna be forever if I keep stopping like this and laughing. Oh, sweet Jesus. Guarded with a banana shaped magazine. I remember now. For I was in truth a river god into revealing to her ardent fathers molded the plasmatic metal of the later twilight possessed the land. Tresses of auburn hair strained from their desert city to the ground. Yeah, I was making sure the title of the stream was what I wanted it to be. Sorry. So I paused. Later twilight possessed the land. Tresses of auburn hair strained from their desert city to the ground. Defects are mutations with primarily negative effects. Take this as a god by the condensing power of the circuitry mind. On his first visit to the north, established trade relations was established nonetheless. Perth founded by Clan Plutarch and vassal clans Weniswool and Calypso in 102 PP. Next to the skill trance to purchase the skill with which he doesn't lean, but rather brandishes in a dense curtain of clouds which screened off the chipped surfaces of smooth marble surround the sacred well. Sometimes she'll catch my eye when the sea winds blow through. Your armor value, which represents how likely you are from physical attacks of note, even the space holder Pateau agreed to abandon research on blasting anyone who opposed him. Wister Wart did not know its full meaning until just the half of the spindle at Omar Porch. Kor by Kor, son of Emet, when it languished in a cubic foot where will, of course, be 17 of 48 times that number. The Angler King died in 40 pp and left Cairo, Cairo with no access to the Betel unto Argive's disk. Whereas Tut was known henceforth as the Desert Sun, but the mimic dived into the vine-braided loam and the rust caves of Gotha, Chrome's graveyard. Much of this bristled prig struts upon stubby legs. Now go fetch me another trinket, mumbling. It didn't take a minute. That appears to our father once did. In the grip it's wider than it would continue to move in a direction. You dash toward the hanging hills. There is a measurement of how hot or cold you are, and the difference between the two feelers of this man-ape sprouts no hair. Though rich black fur courses over the bone of patience stricken with his medium. Ugly little things, he says. Pale white, 8 legs, and ear-splitting whine. Alright, I'm gonna clear my throat. A Delver's vest covered. Are the whispers true? Could it be of some great elk who have only to be a definite kind of matter? The structure and motion which are involved? Look for his hip from where he stashes scrap on his face is uncharacteristically clean, and you wonder at nature's decision to bestow peak organic wit to a massive barrel. She'll hand over her eyes. Little attention has been provided with 2 pipes, one for taking in water and pursued their fishy prey. Characters with multiple limbs may make additional tasks beyond this. This instrument consists of the family escaped. Sun, planets, satellites, comets, and meteors are all controlled by gravitation, and the corresponding number 13,000. When the wind was blowing from the logs and personal notes I authored during the past must have looked like as little sense as it draws a slow, hibernating breath. During a strike, the dearth of scholarship is likely to veer from its surface, and was righted by a mutant who instead produce an undesired effect. Melee combat is combat between two slabs of waxwood. In an hour or two, the Capsaicins, here too, the wisdom of our universe, the Argent Father who inhabits the rock, with its mind that could not fold itself away, and there but to languish for eons. Once the pilgrim monks built and populated the temple, several tribes of men. Many of the elemental forms of clothing in the freeholds were largely isolated. The Beetle is located beneath the surface at all, born by Ashum, son of Ashum, who forded a river nymph. And that the Stabler Center of Observations. This was accounted for by the direct, softer light of day rejoices as a bridegroom coming out of several vertical vents cut from a dense curtain of clouds, which is screened off the chipped surface of the indications of the village. I feel no compulsion to bar its work, clearing throat loudly. Must you disturb me? What are the risks of cybernetics? How do I remember smiling at the labor that brings it forth? The river of time powers the gear train of our universe. The ardent fathers roamed the timeless aether with inert hearts. On a fluctuating whim converged upon our radiant mother. There was then ejected an enormous fist and beats its chest in fury as you examine them. He scrutinizes you wearing an expression that bears the qualities of the beast's idle habits. Stole away from a babbling brook into his leafy firth, the river of time powers the belt pulleys that convey waste through the grotto. And the warden himself, no one knows. But it looks ready to drop onto fours. Earthlings are spawned of the humanoid kings, in personal notes I authored during the dark foliage of Kudza jungles. Over the following year, commissioned a minstrel to author a musical play. Soon the coloring melted away in the skin and providing some protection from the heat of its figure. If salvation awaits me, then I promise to take up residence in the midst of the malevolence birthed of unjust Genesis. One of our schemes and devices, and it leaves in its tangled beard one of the nomadic tribes expired to heat damage you abate and how insulated you are trying to purchase. With the help of Flavin's successor Moin Mohosen, Narcissus II cemented an alliance with the last shot you fire. Your cold resistance is a heavy weapon. She signs in the earliest aurora of our schemes and devices, and it originates from the briery watervine fronds. Clack want no visitors, so Clack relocate workshop. Unshelled reptiles seem to prefer when we remain ignorant of it, of our universe. The Ardent Fathers roamed the timeless aether with inert hearts. So blame birds. Your movement speed is a high relief cut from a dense scale of sharply edged bark plates. Insightful question, aristocrat. Remember, apprentice, Bertram will look kindly upon your own reflection in the old wives' saw. To value wisdom is to note the Most High, thy argent father, me. I left off at being named mirthful in the universe which has no such quality. Then it should not be called matter, else the law of gravitation is stated. These observations show in general that on the Cyclopean lathe, in an ageless past, with quills to boot, 1,000 years and probably more to reach the fungal grove, I misstepped. The children of Clane Winslow Weniswell supposedly hail from the sun? Braids of roots spill through the shoots. Some patients report gratification in consuming the edible horserooms that sprout from the golden valley of Mount Warmth. Breezes blew through the lens, distort as the afterglow succeeds sunset. But because of its body, I've arrived at the labor that brings it forth. We are now assured that the event's parenthetical dates signify their occurrence prior to publication. For one will then add to these numbers counted in a cracked bulbous shell. Oh my god. That was a Delver's vest cover. Holy shit, it's actually a real book. Sorry, I just coughed right in the mic. Obviously and unfortunately, no primary sources are available from these distant lands. Much of this record draws upon the accounts given by fungi who crossed Magrahi on the backs of Dromed merchants. As a matter of convention, I date all events according to their chronolo- chronological distance from an event of paramount historical significance, namely the publication of these volumes. Accordingly, note that the event's parenthetical dates signify their occurrence prior to publication. Oath. Oath is a freehold in the central Sunderlays. Sunderlays populated by the Esper cult called the Tyrants, the youngest of the major freeholds in the region. It was settled by Freeman Oath in 61 PP after the Lost War. The freehold consists of the furnished comb caves. Okay. Sorry, it's just whenever I read something that feels like it's been part of a like randomly generated book, it just sort of like makes my brain melt by association with the randomly generated garbage. Comb caves along the faces of the towering bluff known as Maidencombe before the war. Okay. Origins and the Lost War. In the early months of 62 PP, a mysterious figure began murdering the bandit hosts in the central Sunderleys around Maidencombe. Though the neighboring sorry, my eyes are starting to cross as I begin to read. Though the neighboring freeholds, originally named the Murderers' Blessings, soon reports from river merchants of queer gatherings in the comb caves, howling men igniting the rivers and the night sky with fire. Disquieted the Sunderlies, the seats of power. Rumors spread that the Esper bandits had forsaken their bands, discarded their guns and bows, and swore fealty to the shadowy figure. These merchants' anecdotes and rumors These merchant anecdotes and rumors continued into the winter and were substantiated when several merchants' sketties were captured by the Dark Host. From the man who identified himself as Oth the Free, the merchants learned that he had indeed organized the Esper bandits and exiled void cantors from the fiefdom of Ozram. Each sketty was made to return to the freehold from which he came with a document the host named the Annals of Oth, in which Oth, a self-styled prophet, gifted with prescience, yeah, recounted a series of his visions and demanded the immediate release of all Esper's indentured against their will to the freeholds of Trukin. The Combe Kings were predictably unswayed by the annals and ignored Oth's mandates. However, by the end of 62 PV, no merchant who rode within 20 leagues of Maidencombe was seen alive again. Dozens of sketties were found drifting downriver when the charred or drowned corpses of their rowers in tow. With the charred or drowned corpses of the rowers in tow. About the same time, the annals of Oath began to spread like wildfire throughout the river freeholds. Several free espers left the freeholds to join the host, but those indentured espers who were found to sympathize with Freeman Oath, as he was known in the freeholds, were largely killed or killed. That means they had their reproductive organs cut off, by the way. Of particular interest to Oath and his host or the Windweirds of Perth. Windweirds are a cast of indentured espers who foretold or foretell, and in rare cases alter the strength and duration of the seasonal trade winds over the Pale Sea. Oth's host rowed westward, and his acolytes infiltrated the sea hold and roused support amongst the Windweirds. Having suffered the months long trade blockage at the hands of the freemen and now forced to watch those seeds of discord sprout within his own kingdom, King Rhodos of Perth gathered his strength and rode the winding canyon rivers east towards the Maiden's Comb. A series of skirmishes ensued. The might of Rhodos' navy was such that the freeman was forced to cede the combs he had taken and retreat to the fortifications of Maiden's Comb. Rhodos sieged the comb for several weeks, entreating the king of Athenreach and Erstfeld for support. When no one came, King Rhodos chose to take Maiden's Comb with his own strength. The Battle of Maidencombe, lasted for 4 bloody days. Ultimately, Rhodos' losses were too many, and he was rebuffed and driven back towards Perth. Oath missed no opportunity. He gave chase to the weakened navy and slaughtered nearly 1,000 more Perthic men. Rhodos eventually reached Perth, but the might of the Espers was too great. Oath breached the combs, sapped defenses, sacked the freehold, and slew King Rhodos himself. Several of the Windweirds chose to join the freehold, or the freemen, while many others remained in Perth. A few left the freehold without oath. The Espers rode back to Manicombe with their spoils and lifted the trade blockage, directing their efforts towards settling the combe. Oth gave his name to the freehold, and was known henceforth as the Free Seer. He ruled the Espers until his death in 38 PP, when his successor forsook his own given name and adopted the title of Free Seer. So the tradition continues in present day oath. The name Tyrant itself owes its origins to an ironic interpretation of the entreaty sent by King Rhodos to King Urquharthus of Ethenreach during the siege of Maidencombe. The envoy was captured by the Espers before it made its way upstream towards the northern freehold. The relevant excerpt reads: Row the twinning thaw, bring your skiddies, bear on Maidenholm. Join your strength to mine, beneath the coupled banners of the sea hold and Ethenreach. We might sunder these half-men, these tyrants, who would wrest from us what is ours by right and deed, King Rhodos. The scroll on which the message was written still rests in the hall of the Freeseer, along with the charred skull of King Rhodos. Life and Oath. Oath is ruled by the Freeseer, who resides in the hall of the Freeseer, deep in the heart of Mainscombe. After the tradition of Freeman Oath, the Freeseer must be psionically prescient. Prescient? I don't know how to pronounce that if I'm not pronouncing it right. He may also have influence, though it is not required. The First Seer chooses his successor, often naming the Esper with the most promising precognitive abilities, though the tyrants are free to leave Uth at their leisure. Within the Freehold, the Free Seer's rule is absolute. While the tyrants mostly pursue isolationist policies, they do trade with the neighboring freeholds. However, they only deal directly with the true kin in the rarest of circumstances, and they insist the merchant caravans include a mutant envoy. As for trade goods, the tyrants rarely offer the services of their void cantors, but people are known to come from far and wide to audit the prophecy of the seers of Oth. The tyrants' most coveted imports are cherry daughters from Iris Veld and ghost sap from the rust caves of Cod. Along with the tyrants, Uth is cohabited by a caste of people, both true and mutant, with no psionic aptitude. After the Long War, these people called themselves the Undermensch, left perched with the tyrants of their own accord. They were mostly fisherfolk and craftsmen, and they served those same roles in oath. Their motivations for leaving Perth were never well understood. It is unknown whether they serve now as freekin or as psionic thralls of the tyrants. Stitharin. Stiffening. I don't know how to pronounce that. Is the name given by the tyrants of Oth to the process of introducing a cherry daughter to a host brain through the ear canal. The scarab worm is attached to the host's ear, where it sheds its scale, crawls towards the eardrum, and burrows into the brain. Once entrenched there, the parasite feeds on the temporal and parental lobes, including several changes to the host's body, including loss of hair and nail, loss of weight, and yellowing and graining of skin pigment. The changes occur gradually over a period of several weeks. Immediately after a stiffening, the host undergoes a violent period of bodily adjustment with several side effects including vomiting and fever. Notably, in the case of an Esper host, the feeding also reduces and ultimately eliminates the Esper's ability to resist the Elder's cant. Thusly, all stiffening Espers leave Ulth and venture into Mugger Yi, never to return. Stiffening is usually reserved as punishment for high crimes such as treason. But some of the most devout Espers choose to undergo the process once a year. One member of the Mirthful, the Free Seer's Royal Guard of White Cantress, is chosen by the Free Seer to be stiffened. The Esper's name is recorded for posterity in the Hall of the Free Seer. This is considered the greatest honor that may be bestowed upon an Esper of Oath. A new Esper is chosen to serve the Free Seer in the ceremony called the Rite of Mirth. Well, that's kind of fucked up. Okay. And crowned Zemself. Goddamn. Ingesting when tonical under the rampart, the seer's rule is absolute. And so the boy, armed with the Waydroid, and speak to the Rathrum, for 5 years of his mentor, a southeast wind 2 to 60 miles. The conclusion come to is that there is much larger than a few minutes alone to attach the wire. You would be devoid of higher life during the day, or in parentheses, with much dust is deposited on it. Convinced that their discoveries were made possible by some magic spell there was in a smoking room, shows a decidedly greater condensing power of the signal interrupts the incandescent stillness. As a matter of all those big and proud, and when the chronicling began all the morning, my eyes returned to the dimension of its hut. Verily, I hid them to molecules and atoms. You see, years ago, a comet was noticed to have ever lived. This is a small, twisted race of mercantile desert rovers call themselves Dromad. A saucer containing strong ammonia water, and in some cases staked their own pages with the dirt from his hands every few moments. As a matter of convention, I date all events according to their chronological distance from an event of paramount historical significance, namely the publication of these volumes. Instead, I write these words at his hounds. Theirs are the purest of the self-anointed earl. Only a moment thence, secondly, take care to stay out of the clean glass. Clan Wenestwohl's sigil is a finer grained substance than ordinary matter, but otherwise so like the sight they depend so much by the Buthermites. They venerate deactivated artifacts and claim to propitiate the gods that unfroze him so that one half of the prophet Uchal's pilgrimage towards a butter. Together perhaps you can appease me. Tell Warden Yulrag in Joppa about your victory. Clax, children, let's rejoice in the sky. Betokening the firm hardness of autumn, certain powers allow you to decipher this enigma. Find Pax Clax, and convince it to construct the first and only plant dynasty in Cud's history. Decipher the second volume of my day is spent chipping and stacking wood, and though you marvel at the labyrinths beneath them, Relevant excerpts read: Ro the twinning the Sven Leonard is a measure of how well protected you are against physical attacks that hit you. You are to electric current your skilled with axes. Defend Gritgate to report your success. There they lived among the comb caves along the Sunderlilies. Sunderlies, particularly Goldmouth, which has no gravitative property at all, for 1,000 rainbow motes, dazzling the eye with its tendril ural, exhibits them to insert themselves into the fold. But she was intercepted by villagers of Namur. No one can try the experiment. Penniless boy beseeched a gunsmith of great importance. Thusly, all stiffening espers leave Altha and venture into Muggery, never to return. It is interesting to notice that the dust has condensed the water vapor. In place of contorted rage, he wears an aspect of reflective wonder. If you are offered mental mutations, your ability to dominate the wills of other living creatures. Do not forget your place, journey friend. If you do not change based on your needs, oh, hear the urgent few, oh, Badal, oh, Badal. They made it needful to reconstruct all their work to accentuate the archer's strength, mechanically flexing the limbs further inward as the free seer's hands, though I prefer to sup with the ability of goldworking. Sorry. And during the dark energies of the world, on the sixth day of let's say the sixth day of stealth. On the sixth day of the signal interrupts the incandescent stillness. The reason why the glass covering the box hang a variety of many-tooled tendrils. The upper limit of visibility will be dissolved and quite appear among the merchant Tam in the home kiln of a canyon dweller. Superfluids are too wavy. Give me a second, I just need to collect myself because this is going to be a while because this is like the fifth book in a long series of future books I want to read. Holy shit. The risk of drawing moon dotting beasts is too misty. Each mutation has a penetration value is equal to the race of mercantile desert rovers who men call dromads. Of course, the change of depth and brilliancy of the prophet Uchel's pilgrimage towards Ibur. Above the ground shake, but the front clouds are still more fragile. With the light of the orb is covered in a sparky ground. Dinosaur's head. Dinosaur's head. Eventually, you may soon grow weary of them. Additionally, mutations may exceed this score if your ego further augments them beyond 10. With a shell no larger than 1,000 miles in a thick haze, which rendered which rendered the lower animals from the bed of the India rubber, and hold it down the nomad. Find the creature that are his shoulders. Reared on the backs of dromad merchants, Etkin has counted in a few minutes alone to attach the wire. You've got merchants of queer gatherings in the sovereignty of our elders. So were born the clans of true folk. The children of Karkayan are descended from Kirkayan, called the penumbrum calculus to go dark. This cooling made the air outside of the colossal desert freehold of Nanru gather men. Construct a rectangular box with a file rack and limbic. The patient must first purchase the fall wine. Return to Argive, travel to the land of Nod. Before the shrine of Obo Lokoru stands 20 span tall. If we draw a line between Edinburgh and Gazlo, or Gazgo, and is poor in the other a human face sculpted from stone bluff, all observers were struck with the dromad merchants. Unshelled reptiles seem to swim in midair. You will need to worry about them. We arrived at Kakuya. Nay, you should desire none of your vision. Oh, oh, it's you. You are skilled at two-weapon fighting. Recover one, repair it, and there Pateau languish for aeons. Quetzal! Thank you, thank you. Oh, how the Dromads know. How did I survive the Great Salt Desert? Not my day. He has spent centuries fiddling with the artifact. Oh my god. After Ben Ladi is seen when the wind from where he watched on the other, it was the mimic dived into the bloodstream. Thusly clan Karst. Karst's sigil is a measurement of how much damage your melee attacks do. Your ability to displace those who hear it so. I sing of the major freeholds in the space before you. Least control. God damn it. Least control of the glacial rivers, following over the artifice of language. Like the Aether were structureless physical laws by its friction, or no, physical laws operative upon such materials, substances as atoms could not be identified. By its friction in the middle of the Eater succumbed to a vast sea, and monstrous vessels mounting its waves. Your base electrical resistance is common hunting gun in the Hall of the Day has certainly not changed so much unfavorable weather conditions. Sorry, I'm gonna keep yawning because I keep talking. I don't catch my breath. They are led by Shekinah, who accompanies a position of prominence, occupies a position of prominence. Sorry. The damage value, for example, 4AV, 4DV, that augment your own blood. Sertonics may be here in the corporeal form too. First tab to trade with the finger. There is a heavy weapon. She neared me, set on enveloping me back into the jungle. Oh my lord. I'm actually gonna use. Okay. I've read a Forzum's Birds of Fur. Let's check to see what the Corpus Julius has in store. I've read all this. I'm just looking for the cure. Once the disease is fully blown and the patient begins to lose mobility, gel made from desalinated amoeba slime is the only effective remedy I've discovered. The patient should be administered a draught composed of one gel and 1 dram of wine every day until the leg joints regain their full range of mobility. Okay, so that's just a monochrome. Okay, to cure the affliction, once color sight is lost, however, the patient must ingest 1 dram of unadulterated salt. Just pure salt, and then immediately subject themselves to the detonation of a flashbang grenade. Okay, somehow this fixes them. Moon King fever, I believe there's no actual cure for it. But okay, don't rot. Must first ingest a potion called the Flaming Ick. 1 part asphalt, 1 part salt, 3 parts sap, and drank from a flaming vessel. Once the mouth is purged from the disease in this manner, the Urban Ashram tonic may be administered. I was about to say administrated. Okay, let's the treatment regimen is just the same. First, a anti-fungal cream must be concocted from gel, desalinated slime, and primordial soup. Jesus Christ. The patient then consumes a raw electric snail corpse. Oh fuck. That'd be so difficult to find just like on the drop of a hat, especially in the early game. Alright. Alright, that's all I need to read from there. Creatures from Red Rock. The name actually sounds like something that could actually be in the game itself. When no aid came, King Rhodos himself, the sauteurs, one of his cloak and over his eyes, and sweat glistens on the high shelf of a goat folk. To follow were 2 or 3 decades of jubilation and prosperity that lasted until the bones of a stretchy black fabric that sticks to your strength score sticks to your strength score each time you attempt to identify with shell bearers, leaf donors, and firefly symbiotes, respectively. This is an exquisitely detailed high relief cut from the putrid spawn of Agilgut. It had become numbered their days of debauchery when the wind is but her eternal breath. Perhaps she is indeed some of the hills, as it cousins though it lacks the precision of cubes. The truffle is encrusted with cooling lava. If there were any vacant spaces for any increase in dryness from 2 to 8 of wet bulb depression, O holy union, blessed blessed be the highest, it may be able to ingest multiple tonics without incurring undesired effects. The Sunderlies are a labyrinthine complex of towering, sundered bluffs that lie to the enumeration of the 1/50 millionth of an hour, more blue to be trapped in a razor-sharp metallic exoskeleton. They trace their lineage back to Mancomb with a reasonable light and heat, vibrating sympathetic chords and awe, and even the most ferocious warrior to have grown from atop this ageless leather helm. Our sun is 63 million miles from the Glowmoth's wings. Speak to Coogirl replaced the old oscillator on his Buthram clock with a pull ring atop the spindle where tedders and birds go. You will need to worry about them. They were soon disabused. If you are immune to pointing, the chanting compounded in my own treachery, empty chest, not my day. But the quantivists devised a way to entangle their own diameter apart. I've been wanting another apprentice, and in the air these drops are very small. Many of them, when spread on the shores of songs, named for the beetle onto the barrel, leers at your target. The mutation you choose begins with a sharp steel head. Rare is it, but how charming when witnessed, though still very recently it was fired in the central Sunderlies around Maincomb. If we draw a line between Edinburgh and the site itself, what the sailors call me Katu. The colonization takes 2 to 3 days to complete, during which time the patient may report itchiness of the earth. They are led by Shekinah, who occupies a position of prominence, so I am, and he accounts for 1,000 more Perthic men. Aitken, sorry, I've already forgotten. Atkin has devoted a vast lake of crystalline water. None have ever lived. Whoops. There's tents, the whole clouds were still more fragile. The desired ocular module, or the sons of man, kept to themselves in the images of the rainbow. Eat the god's flesh and follow the stairs down to a hard and fast line when no one knows Clax's whereabouts. The transparency of the handheld box, Abbot Urium, of the recuperative power of the water vapor to form words and chat with old Argive in the southwest of the man scorpions themselves. It came by experience to people who had indeed grown weary of the shattered age. However, they are rattling and less dependent on your approach to groundskeeping. For the remainder of the feeling I get when I woke next morning, the cavalcade had vanished. Who am I? Sveinleinard, eater of game, first huntsman of cud. The phrase flunder. The phrase thunder clears the air is familiar to all. Place the dusty plate, a square glass mirror, 4 inches a side on the top into a valley quilted with the gnarled roots of brightstock swayam, and he was not afforded so much. Several of those of his argent father, and assuredly next morning, started to fall back in my chair, sorry. Next morning I was but a cub, a nestling, when my kin and broader at the labor that brings it forth. If you do not have the means here to decrypt it, is it your interest waned? There is not atomic in structure. Missile combat is combat between two slabs of thin blue metal, welded into a strong steel shaft. It's true that the limit of visibility only increases. Remember, apprentice, Barathrum will look kindly upon your own reflection in the heart of Maiden's Comb. Your alleged your electrical resistance score is 0. Electrical score is 0. Again, both breached the Combs sap defenses, sacked the Kirkian freehold Kirkania, and wiped out the Kirkanian freehold and wiped out the and wiped out the Kirkian line. Though rumors persist that some visible stars are upon the floor. Oath's host rode westward, and his disciple tinkerers, and in 840 PP, the barbarian king Ut sacked Mother Morshire, beheaded Mehmet, and seized upon the floor. She signs in the tribe of men. His town lies a humanoid kingdom. He abdicates mere hours after inheriting the throne. However, simply ingesting the corpse uses spray roll to disperse a liquid concoction that would become. Most of them are inorganic, and many of them have gone beyond but would have been identified in the atmosphere. Only out of itself, and only out of itself, you spot a crease in its splendor. The monastery houses two hallowed artifacts of the ageless rock, from which to sing. Certain powers allow you to broker a deal so that the number in the music of his neck with hundreds of thin, shining blue veins. It is most treacherous, and in presenting unsullied faces to the interior of the waves which constitute light, and spreading gladness and deep joy before him. Within each man a goat. Within each man a goat. Remember, apprentice, Rathdrum will look kindly on your service. You chance to study it first. Praise the god, the rhetorical, who speaks truth to Chrome. The river of time powers the belt pulleys that convey waste to the foliage of the jungles. All observers were struck with the spores of brooding puffers. We are the more remote ones, millions of years. The light sculpture of Shekinah behind him, the mechanists worship this one as an atom. Your intelligence score determines your skill points, the number of skill points which you may completely identify an artifact. Construct a rectangular box with a pull string. Joppa is an inquisitively detailed high relief cut from precious cerulean marble. Hours of restful slumber passed until it was likely exported by the friction and viscosity of the sky. Oh my god, I need to breathe. Oh god, I've been reading for almost an hour. I don't know how long I'm going to be reading, but I'm going to read until. I'm not going to read all of this in one sitting. I'll actually lose my damn mind. Dusky Fullerite Welded. Though the neighboring freeholds originally named the murderers blessings, soon reports from river merchants of all that its varied diseases are the whispers true. Could it be continuous? It can have no other name. There they permeated her royally membrane. Failing that, you'll need to prove your worth. That you do not conduct elections. The word I say out of the box is clean In other great clans, this is cut. Try the rust caves. With a shell no longer larger than that of multiplication table need to be used. And the moon for 200 years, clans of true folk, those traders in their giant mushroom flesh. There is little we can see a Quetzal. Mutations often grant you activated abilities. I shelter myself under the shade of a litany invoked in the tribes of men. I had heard it told all kings are mad. Heard it told all kings are mad. The superstition of centuries adds to this at my manse. In Strathmore, in January 1893, my meaning here is plain. Most characters start with a round orifice in the coldest distance of space. They discovered beauty in chrome. I like just to cut off this sentence. Most characters start with a round orifice. Period. Oh my god. They discovered beauty and chrome incarnate, capsaicins. The angler himself spurred the offer, realizing the importance of the stinking robe. Flesh smears over the whole way round. Got dyed glass high in her after she does. Oh, fuck. Hotkey your activated abilities. Got dyed glass high in her after she does. I've tweeted that before. It's so fucking stupid. Perhaps she is still wet. In the early dawn of our creation, who breathed life into our flesh, created the Battles to oblige our desires. My protege Q girl in the neighborhood of large towns. Yes, yes, wire. Beautiful wire. Oh, before I could not see them, which reflected rays of short wavelength on its underside, no jasper. Another pair of cross ashen malls on a tripod. Penetration value, penetration 4, for example, Atkin has counted in a conch, or sconce, I should say. For all my boyhood was rife with sketties and ships, but none were of this frigid iguana. Gravitation then is testimony. The tonic ingested by a strap of intestine, enter and speak with Elder Urdad. Good luck. What can I offer, excellent news, disciple? That's my dear friend, indeed. The afflicted patient will complain of aching joints and the jungles of Cud. I complain of the jungles of Cud myself. This heat this heat the earth until the bones are fused together at the labyrinths beneath them. However, simply ingesting the tonic will merely regrow the tongue, which will open some doors in the heat. After knowing this, we are assured that in the ether were similarly to be reptile in part. Atkin has counted in 1 cubic inch of the monastery erstwhile Abbot Flavian the Learned, but consort with fungi? You do me harm, good sir. Common remedies, buckwheat and honey, are sometimes effective in reversing necrosis if they were mechanically unalike. I would die once I reached the earth. Unfortunately, a troublesome merchant from the surface for centuries. Unfortunately, no one could get to the crunchy exoskeleton. Let him drink, friend. He stores every phrase he hears in his court. Dusky fullerite welded. Jesus. Blazed away for. I think this might be one of my last books for tonight because I'm already tired. Glazed wafers inside of striped loaf. 1 serving of crab jerky, 1 serving of vine wafer sheaf. When you drink fresh water, there's a 25% chance you get 30 to 40 max HP for 1 hour. Breaded meat stew, 1 serving of crab and 1 serving of crusty loaf. 10 to 15 max HP, guaranteed to be tasty if eaten while hungry. Uh, Roasted with meat, ishikari mats, and flaky crab jerky. 1 serving of crab jerky, 1 serving of beetle jerky, 1 serving of vine wafer sheaf. Whenever you drop below 20%, you don't thirst for the next 12 hours. Frying with crab jerky. Low whites consume their corpses in order. Holy fuck, it's a. Oh, I want to rate this before or after Everest. These drops are very small. Many of them are all controlled by gravitation. Fucking die. Alright, I think that's gonna be it for today, but I'll definitely come back with more than just an hour of this next time. Let me, oops. No, not about the self. Trade with me. I can probably buy all the books I've read so far. So it's. Yeah. Uh, Low weights consuming their things in order. Yeah. I'll figure it out. Alright. My lord, I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, out of like, let's say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, 110, 120, 130, 100. Okay, so over 100 books minimum. I still have to go. Okay, but I'm going to save it here and I'm going to leave you guys. Okay. See you guys. I probably won't read all of these like back to back because otherwise this would literally be my all I could ever do for the next like month. But yeah, see you guys around. I will play something next time rather than reading books, but also read books at some point. Definitely. See you guys around.